Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a book review on What Once Was Mine by Liz Braswell. What Once Was Mine by Liz Braswell is book 12 in the Disney Twisted Tales series. After the queen falls ill, the kingdom is sent out to search for the sundrop flower that has magical healing properties. Instead, the moondrop flower is brought to the queen. The queen consumes the flower, but when her daughter is born, the child has silver hair that instead of healing causes hurt and even death. Rapunzel is sent away for her own safety, and for the safety of the kingdom. But the woman who is charged to care for her, Mother Gothel, has her own plans for Rapunzel once she comes of age. Rapunzel is locked away for 19 years, and finally enough is enough. She escapes from the tower and goes on an unexpected journey with two outlaws, Gina and Flynn Rider. The trio are constantly on the run as they escape from enemies and attempt to flee from Mother Gothel and try and return Rapunzel to what is rightfully hers. You guys, when it comes to modern Disney, I consider Tangled to be one of my favorites. I freaking love Tangled. It is so good, so brilliant. I love just about everything about that cartoon. So yeah, I was pretty thrilled and excited when Twisted Tales was like, hey, we're going to tackle Tangled next. And I was like, yes, thank you, thank you. And I did. I loved the whole premise of this. What if Rapunzel's mother drank a potion from the wrong flower? Oh my god, what does that do? So yeah, if you've seen the cartoon, you know that in the cartoon, the sundrop flower is what is brought to the queen, and the sundrop flower, since the queen consumes it and that gives Rapunzel her magical abilities and whatnot, Rapunzel, her hair has magical abilities to like heal and whatnot, and yeah, her hair glows golden and whatnot. So in this book, instead of the sundrop flower, it's the moondrop, and the moondrop is like the darker version of the sundrop. It has more of the ability to cause hurt and maybe even death, and instead of having her long flowing locks of blonde hair, now it's silver. It's really dramatic. And you guys, if you're familiar, if that sounds familiar, maybe it's because if you have seen the Disney animated cartoon series, Tangled the series, it was like a little cartoon on the Disney Channel that ran for I think 3 seasons if I'm not mistaken, and yeah, just followed Flynn and Rapunzel after the events of what happened in that in the movie. And yeah, the moondrop flower is a big deal on that cartoon. It is pretty much the big sole focus of that cartoon. So I was pretty excited that Liz Braswell took that concept from that cartoon, something that I don't think many people have even seen. I'm glad she took that element and brought it into this book, because that was even more exciting for me, because it was like combining not only the animated movie but also the animated series, which was genius. So all of that being said, as I keep repeating, Tangled is one of my favorite Disney cartoons when it comes to modern Disney. I was a little frustrated and disappointed with this installment. Not that this was bad by any means. I think this was still a fine, very enjoyable story, and I appreciated what Liz Braswell was trying to do with it. It was still unique and different. But yeah, compared to some of the other books in the Twisted Tales series, I was just a little frustrated and disappointed with this. I definitely left the book going, huh, that was okay. And if I leave a book going, huh, that was okay, then yeah, there's a problem with the book, I think what this book definitely suffered from, the pacing was way too slow for me. I often found myself kind of drifting and being like, wait, what's going on? I was getting a little sleepy while reading it. I think it was also just bogged down by way too many brand new characters to the story, and yeah, bogged down by unnecessary plot at some times that really made the pacing seem slow. And yeah, this book is, how long is it? It's almost 500 pages. You guys, this book is almost 500 pages, and I could easily kind of just go through here and just snip out stuff that didn't need to be in here. Once again, it was just bogged down, too many brand new characters, bogged down by too much unnecessary plot. It's like you have the original characters from the cartoon, Mother Gothel and Flynn and Rapunzel and the people at the Snuggly Duckling and whatnot, you have all these great characters. It's like, use them and use them in better ways than what they were kind of used in here. And another thing that was really irritating and frustrating to me about this book, in the movie, I absolutely adore the relationship that develops over the course of that movie between Flynn Rider and Rapunzel. Um, it's just so sweet and so charming. It's like you're rooting for them to get together and for Flynn to be a better man, you know. And yeah, Rapunzel sees the good in him. I love and adore that relationship. And in this book, their relationship fell, unfortunately, very flat and very uninteresting. Once again, because there's too many brand new characters in here, and there's not that really great, intense development between Flynn and Rapunzel that happens like it does in the cartoon and whatnot. So as far as the plot goes, I mean, there are definitely some major differences here and there, but for the most part, things are still the same. I mean, there is the alternating thing between the flowers, you know, instead of the sun drop, it's the moon drop. But I mean, that is still a major plot point that is fairly similar to the original movie. You still have Rapunzel being taken away by Mother Gothel to the tower. You know, in the movie, she's more kidnapped by Mother Gothel, whereas in this book, Mother Gothel is willingly given Rapunzel because Rapunzel's parents think, oh, our daughter, she can kill people with her hair. We need to throw her away somewhere, you know. So it's like there are definitely very similar plot elements, just kind of done in a slightly twisty, different way, if you will. And Rapunzel definitely remains a very proactive heroine like she does in the movie. She knows that there are floating lights. She knows that they always come out on her birthday, what she believes is her birthday, and she wants to go see these lights on her birthday. So yeah, that whole element also remains. You got your characters from the Snuggly Duckling that remain. Pascal is definitely still in this story, but instead of kind of being a bit more almost more human-like at times, like he is in the cartoon, he definitely comes across more as a traditional, typical chameleon in this. Like, he's like, Rapunzel just holds him and he's just there, you know, he's just a chameleon. He's not like more interactive like he is in the cartoon. And then, yeah, another interesting twist in this, without spoiling anything, Maximus, who is a horse in the cartoon, Maximus is in this version, he's a palace guard. And there's definitely some interesting twists and turns there with that. Now, going back quickly to this narrative being bogged down by a bunch of brand new characters, let me say this. All of the brand new characters in this weren't necessarily bad, nor were they written badly, if that makes sense. It's just really their placement overall in here that kind of took away from other elements. Like I said, the relationship between Flynn and Rapunzel falls very flat, considering that they're supposed to be romantic interests. So yeah, the brand new characters really take away from some of those other plot elements that really needed to be much more strongly developed in here. So yeah, kind of getting into some of these characters. One of our brand new characters, her name is Gina. She's an outlaw, very much kind of like Flynn Rider. She has her own traumas and backstories that she's facing. She seeks a life of adventure and things that she's trying to achieve. Yeah, and once again, there was nothing wrong with Gina. I really liked Gina as a character. If you have seen the animated series on the Disney Channel, Gina almost kind of comes across fairly similar to the character of Cassandra on that, I felt like. Not totally identical, but just certain little characteristics that I was like, oh, she seems like Cassandra. But yeah, nothing bad about Gina whatsoever. It's just, there was so much time spent with kind of that girl friendship, you know, friendship between girls, with Gina and Rapunzel. But then, yeah, whenever there's romance with Flynn going on, it's like, why should I care? You know? And moving on to kind of our primary villain, you may be thinking, well, isn't Mother Gothel supposed to be the primary villain? In some ways, not really in this book, unfortunately. What Liz Braswell does do very interesting with this narrative, she places the narrative in a much more historical context, which was really cool. You'll have to kind of read the book to kind of understand more of what I'm saying by that. But yeah, there's definitely much more of a historical context in here, and like where this kingdom is is laid out within Europe, I guess, if that makes sense. So the thing is, your primary villain in this is actually not really Mother Gothel to some degree. It's actually Elizabeth Bathory, you guys. From what little I do know about Elizabeth of Bathory, kind of like the lore and legend of her, she was a real historical figure, and she was known that she had like murdered a bunch of young women, something like that. I'm trying to get all the details here. She murdered a bunch of women, like young women, and she was like tried and condemned at some point, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm remembering my research correctly. And yes, she kind of almost sparked like this legend of vampires to some extent. So yeah, I definitely do know about Elizabeth of Bathory, to an extent. I don't know a hell of a lot of detail about her, but I do know she was definitely a real historical figure who was known to have murdered a bunch of young women and whatnot. So Elizabeth of Bathory, she makes some great appearances in here, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I love this. Once again, how Liz Braswell is incorporating more of a historical context to this narrative. But unfortunately, Mother Gothel is pushed off to the side. You know, it's the same with how Gina's kind of in here. Poor Flynn is pushed to the side. So it's kind of frustrating. You know, it's like you have these characters that you really personally love from the cartoon and you want to see more of them, but then there's these other characters. It's like, why are they here necessarily? Now, something I have neglected to mention thus far in this review, and this was another storytelling aspect to this story that I did not really particularly like or get into. There is more going on in this book than just the Tangled story. Let me explain. There is a framing device around this entire story. The frame story takes place in like our modern day society. Stick with me here, you guys. It takes place in our modern day society, and we are introduced to two siblings, Brendan and Daniela. We get the idea that Daniela, she has some sort of cancer, I think is what they say, if I'm remembering correctly. She has some sort of cancer. She's going through chemotherapy, and she's kind of just stuck and trapped at the hospital when she's going through these courses of chemotherapy. So what her brother Brendan decides to do, he knows that his sister loves the cartoon Tangled. It's all very meta, yeah, guys. I'm not really sure if I kind of dug all of that. It's all very meta. So he's like, you know what? I'm gonna tell you the story of Tangled, but I'm gonna switch it up and change some things and make it interesting for you. You know, take your mind off of the chemotherapy and off of your cancer and whatnot. So, you know, I'm not heartless. You know, I'm not a heartless person. I appreciate what Brendan, the brother, was trying to do for his sister. You know, he was trying to take her mind off of this situation. And it's all very heartwarming and uplifting, really beautiful and poignant. But in the context of this book, it just kind of didn't really work for me, and it made me feel bad. It made me feel bad that I felt that way. Because even Liz Braswell herself, she explains why she took this creative liberty with this framing device with the siblings. She explains that her own sister faced cancer at some point, and it was something that really affected the family, and she really felt bad for her sister and whatnot. And yeah, her sister did make it through the cancer, and her chemotherapy worked. So this book was kind of this catharsis for Liz Braswell to some extent, a catharsis for her to kind of get out her emotional feelings and the way she was kind of feeling about things during that time period. So at the end of the day, this book was written from a very emotional place that meant something to Liz Braswell. And once again, I feel like a terrible person. Is it just me? I feel like a truly terrible person that I hated those parts of the book. Once again, with a lot of the stuff going on in this book, it's not like it's bad or badly written. It just felt unnecessary, is what I'm trying to get across. Once again, this book is fairly close to 500 pages, and it felt that length. It felt bogged down by just too much going on. and then not expanding and developing on the things that it needed to spend time on. Once again, like I said, we need to spend more time with the Flynn and Rapunzel relationship, which is just severely lacking in this. And yeah, it's like, why did they all of a sudden just love each other by the end of this book? I didn't get it. There was never any excuse and reason in here for me to be like, oh, I love them together, you know, compared to the movie. So yeah, this book, it was okay, it was fine, definitely a big disappointment within the Disney Twisted Tales series, unfortunately, but still fine, you know, still fine, still okay, still good. I'm still glad I read this because, you know, like I said, I liked the alternating of the flowers. Rapunzel can harm instead of heal. I really liked all of that, and even though I wanted more of Mother Gothel, it's like I still weirdly enough liked Elizabeth of Bathory as kind of your primary villain, you know? So it's like there were things that it's like I felt 50-50 with, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I just felt so 50-50 with this book. It's like I sort of liked it, I sort of hated it. I'm not really sure where I lie. But yeah, I think if you are reading this series, you definitely need to be very aware of what this book is kind of going into and tackling and who the focus is on and whatnot. But yeah, if you have been reading all of these books, definitely pick this up because it's still fun. So you guys, that is it for my thoughts and feelings on What Once Was Mine. In the comments below, have you guys read this particular installment in the Disney Twisted Tales series? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Just let me know. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye guys.